Hey guys, Andrew Roller of Dirt Rider Magazine. I'm here with two of our test riders, Alan Brown and Steve Boniface, summing up our 2018 450 MX Shootout. In third place was the all-new Yamaha YZ450F. Surprisingly enough, this bike finished first in our shootout last year, but just by a very small margin. This year, the bike had an all-new engine, new frame, and new ergonomics. While it was close in the top three, there were some points of contention on the bike. But one thing that a lot of the test riders liked was the engine. Alan, what were your thoughts on the engine overall?
Overall, the Yamaha engine is like out of this world. I couldn't believe the amount of torque it had. It can be lugging, it can be revving. It's by far, it's the strongest engine of all six bikes. I didn't expect it to be even close to this strong. It's been known to have a strong engine. You know, the Yamaha engine I think has been probably the strongest engine the last few years, but they took the strongest engine and made it even faster.
Definitely, and with what you said in the lugging, of being able to lug it, I was able to ride the entire track on the second day at Korea in third gear. I mean, just minimal clutch work. You can lug it, like you said, you can rev it high, you can really ride it however you want to, and a real linear power band. And to me, it was almost deceivingly fast because, you know, when it goes, it goes.
Completely agree. I personally think the Yamaha engine was the best out of the six bikes. It was really strong, really torquey. The power was incredible from bottom, mid to top. Easy to ride. I was able to really put like consistent lap on the bike.
They said they increased horsepower by 3 at 6,000, 9,000 RPM, and I could tell when I rode it that day, and it was definitely apparent against all the other bikes too, because the bike, it holds its own.
For sure, you almost never have to use the clutch. You can come out of a corner in third gear when sometimes on another bike you need to be in second, and just roll it on, and if there's a jump, you'll clear the obstacle easily. The only drawback, of course, is having that much power. I did find it can fatigue you. If you want to ride it hard, you're going to get tired a little quicker, so you've got to manage it a little bit more.
Definitely, and something that was still apparent that I noticed compared to the previous generation was engine braking. It had noticeably more than some of the other bikes for me.
Yes, I agree. I felt also a little bit more engine braking than another bike. It didn't really bother me, but I felt it.
So moving on to the suspension, the 2018 Yamaha YZ450F returns with a KYB SSS front fork and a KYB rear shock. Those units are by far the most highly praised of all the test riders. Steve, what were your thoughts on the Yamaha suspension?
The suspension were really good, especially the rear shock. It was amazing. I felt really good on it right away. It gives like the bike a really plush feeling, very comfortable. It sits really low, and I really like that. I wouldn't change anything on a shock, just like it is, I would race it right away. It's really good. The fork was good too. I didn't feel like it was as good as the shock was, and I was a little disappointed about that. I would like to make that a little better. It was a little hard for me, beginning of the stroke.
Definitely, and for me there's no harshness. I feel like you could overjump or underjump something and just super forgiving. It does seem to me like the front fork maybe moves more in the stroke than others.
I don't know if it moves. I did feel like it rides a little bit low in the stroke. Overall, I really like the suspension. I like the components. I think they're proven, they're good. There's no real marketing gimmicks about them, but they just work well. For me personally, it rode a little too low in the stroke. I might opt for a one-rate heavier springs. Might keep it a little bit higher in the stroke and make the forks just a little bit more plush initially. And it might make the bike just feel a little bit lighter. But like Steve said, you could just ride it, race it the way it is.
Moving on to the handling on the Yamaha YZ450F in the past has been a bit of issue of contention for some of our test riders. The new model seems to be a bit better. I know I felt it was better overall. It seemed like it cornered better, but it still, for me, does have kind of a bigger feeling, especially the radiator shrouds. Steve, what were your thoughts on the bike?
So when I first sit on the bike, I do feel like the bike is a little wider than the rest of the bike. Now when I ride the bike, it doesn't bother me at all. I really like the way I'm standing on a Yamaha. I feel like the triangle bar seat foot pegs is a little smaller than some of the other bikes, and being rather short, it just put me on top of the bike. And I really, really like it and really appreciate that feeling on the Yamaha. But there is definitely something for me to improve cornering for my riding style. So maybe could be like raising the rear a little bit, or the bar mount, maybe switching back to the lower bar mount. there is something to work on to make the front end as good as the rear is right now.
Yeah, definitely the Yamaha is, of all the bikes, you're sitting in the bike the most. You're not sitting on top of the bike. I feel like Yamaha's been criticized over the years for being a wide bike, and they had an opportunity to really correct this, and they narrowed out the radiator shrouds. But for me, in a standing position, it's between my knees where the gas tank is and the seat. I feel like they could have really reduced that, and in turn given you a really good sensation of a narrow bike. And they also raised the handlebars, and for me, I didn't like the way it feels. It doesn't steer as well. If it was my personal bike, I'd probably want a lower handlebar mount. I mean, but that being said, I felt it to be really stable, comfortable to ride. It doesn't turn inside. You know, it's hard to get insides with it, but you can rail outside berms, flat corners. It gives you a lot of confidence in those areas.
So we're in the top 3, and these top 3 bikes truly are the best of the best. They're all really close, but lo and behold, the Yamaha YZ450F, despite being all new for 2018, did come in 3rd place. Steve, why would you buy the Yamaha YZ450F?
Definitely the suspension. Great suspension. I felt really comfortable on the bike. Like I said earlier, the rear shock was amazing. Just felt like it was coming off a race bike, and that would be the reason I would go for the Yamaha.
I agree with Steve. The suspension is really good stock. I think it wouldn't require very much for me to be super comfortable and personalize it. Maybe, like I said, just maybe some stiffer springs. The motor is my favorite of all of the 6 bikes, so combine the motor and the suspension, probably be the reason I'd want to buy this bike.
So last year's winner, the Yamaha YZ450F, despite being all new in 2018, finished 3rd. Check back to dirtrider.com to see how the rest of the bikes finished in our 2018 450 MX Shootout.